This presentation examines the institutions that have helped build and govern the modern global economy. We'll trace their development from the Bretton Woods system to the World Trade Organization and beyond, focusing on how international financial and trade institutions influence business environments, national economies, and cross-border commerce. The title, Architects of Globalization, reflects their role in shaping the rules, structures, and relationships that connect markets around the world. We'll consider both the systems they created and their continuing significance. After the economic chaos of the 1930s and the devastation of World War II, leaders recognized that countries acting independently could deepen global instability. Currency manipulation, trade barriers, and financial uncertainty had contributed to economic crisis and international conflict. In 1944, 44 Allied nations met in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to build a more coordinated system. Their goal was a new international economic architecture based on stable exchange rates, open trade, and multilateral cooperation. These institutions were created to replace fragmentation with shared rules and greater predictability. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, was created in 1944 at Bretton Woods and became operational in 1945. Today, it includes 190 member countries. Its core mission is to promote monetary cooperation and exchange rate stability, while providing financial assistance when countries face economic crises. The IMF works through three main tools: surveillance, lending, and technical assistance. It monitors member economies, provides loans through structured programs, and helps governments strengthen their economic institutions and policies. Together, these activities are designed to support stability and reduce the impact of financial disruptions. The World Bank was also established at Bretton Woods, initially to finance Europe's reconstruction after World War II. Over time, its mission shifted toward reducing poverty and supporting long-term economic development in emerging and developing countries. The World Bank Group includes 5 institutions, notably the IBRD, which provides loans to middle-income countries, and the IDA, which offers concessional financing to the poorest nations. The key distinction is time horizon. The IMF addresses short-term financial stability, while the World Bank invests in long-term development. This slide traces the evolution from GATT to the World Trade Organization. GATT began in 1947 as provisional rules for reducing tariffs among 23 nations. Over time, the Uruguay Round broadened the agenda beyond goods, adding services, intellectual property, and agriculture. That process led to the WTO in 1995, creating a permanent institution for global trade. Its defining difference is enforceable dispute settlement. The WTO establishes binding rules, helps reduce trade barriers, and provides a legal framework for resolving disagreements between nations, making it the cornerstone of the global trading system. The WTO shapes global business through 3 core principles. Most favored nation treatment means members must generally offer the same trade terms to all other WTO members, rather than favoring one trading partner over another. Its dispute settlement system provides binding, rule-based arbitration when countries disagree, reducing the need for unilateral retaliation. Finally, national treatment requires imported goods to receive treatment no less favorable than comparable domestic products once they enter the market. Together, these rules create greater consistency and predictability for international trade. Regional development banks complement global institutions by directing financing towards specific regions, where local expertise and priorities can shape development efforts. The key idea is regional focus. The Asian Development Bank, founded in 1966 in Manila, supports infrastructure, climate resilience, and poverty reduction across the Asia-Pacific. The Inter-American Development Bank, founded in 1959 in Washington, D.C., is the largest source of development financing for Latin America and the Caribbean. The African Development Bank promotes sustainable growth across Africa, while the European Bank for Reconstruction supports market economy transitions in Central and Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Global economic coordination doesn't happen only through formal institutions. The G7 and G20 are informal forums where heads of state discuss and align on issues, such as monetary policy, trade, climate finance, and responses to global crises. They do not have formal enforcement power, but that does not make them insignificant. Their political and market influence is enormous. Summit communiques can affect currency markets and shape the priorities of formal institutions, including the IMF and WTO. In this way, informal governance helps set the direction for the global economic system. These institutions drive globalization through three reinforcing mechanisms. First, WTO agreements reduce trade barriers, with average global tariffs falling from over 20% in 1947 to under 3% today. Second, the IMF helps stabilize currencies through surveillance and lending, reducing the risk that one country's crisis spreads into a global recession. Finally, the World Bank and regional development banks finance infrastructure, education, and stronger governance. Together, these efforts connect emerging economies to global markets and make international trade more accessible, resilient, and sustainable. This slide highlights the main criticisms and debates surrounding global economic institutions. Critics argue that IMF and World Bank loans can impose austerity conditions that disproportionately harm vulnerable populations. There is also a power imbalance because voting rights reflect financial contributions, giving wealthy nations greater influence. The WTO faces continued deadlock, especially since the Doha round began in 2001. Meanwhile, institutions such as the China-led AIIB, the BRICS New Development Bank, and bilateral trade agreements are creating alternatives. The central concern is fragmentation, which could reverse some gains from globalization. The key takeaway is that global economic governance rests on several layers. Bretton Woods institutions created the foundation, the WTO formalized trade rules, and regional bodies adapt cooperation locally. This framework is still evolving as fairness concerns and rival institutions reshape globalization, essential context for any cross-border business.